49ers Kyle Shanahan caught some heat over last week's preseason performance by starting Brock Purdy without any of the other starting skill positions and kind of a banged up offensive line. Lots of people questioned that. I even did a poll on it. I'll show the results of the poll after we listen to what Kyle Shanahan has to say about it. But it was a situation that was met with mixed results or mixed feedback, we should say. And so part of this conversation is also about how do the 49ers handle this last preseason game against the Raiders coming up on Friday. Short week. They don't get to really even practice all that much because the way it's sandwiched in between this game against the Saints. So Kyle Shanahan talks about how they are going to be handling this, what type of reps the starters will get, and what to expect for this game against the Raiders. Take a listen to Kyle Shanahan not only reacting to the criticism for playing Brock Purdy against the Saints, but what his plan is for the starters against the Raiders right here.
All right, so going into this week, last game of the preseason, how do you want to approach it? Do you want to get some starters in? How long would you like to see them? And what's the conversation like with you and the individual starters as to how much they want to play, how much you think you need to see from them, and how much they want to play to just kind of get comfortable before the regular season?
Well, I mean, especially like the last time us being able to have a game for, really it's 3 weeks by the time you kick off. And we're only allowed to have one padded practice next week, which makes that tough. If we could have more padded practices next week, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But they truly kind of do make it like a bye week last week. And the tough thing is with us playing on Sunday, we're not going to ever practice anyone the day after a game. And, then we get to hear Tuesday and Wednesday, and to have any real padded practices these 2 days would have made it tough because then it would have been hard to play them in the game here on Friday. So we've kind of had to take it easy on them this week also, just to be able to get them to there. And then next week kind of gets like that too. So to not get much out of this game, I think would be a risk, just guys getting too much off. So the goal is to play our starters. I always tell them to be ready to play a whole half. Hopefully we get more plays and in some good situations, things go well. So, it only ends up being like a quarter and a half, but each guy's different. But I don't talk to them all individually about it. I kind of tell them what the plan, I tell them my reasoning for it. And I tell anyone who, everything I try to do is do it. I do it because I believe that's what we need as a team, or I believe it's what you need as an individual. And this is the decision I've made. And if anyone sees it differently, my door's always open, and I'd love to hear your opinion. But I'm doing this for a reason. And so that's usually how I roll with it. And not many guys disagree, but some guys can sometimes make good points, and we just deal with that when it happens.
So real quick, I want to go back to last week because I know a lot. I'm not going to point out specific people, but a lot of people thought it was quote-unquote crazy to play Brock behind that offensive line without having your number one offensive line in here, that you're risk getting him hurt. I don't buy it, but how do you respond to it?
I might get what people say, but I think sometimes people are just trying to be a little bit dramatic with it. If we obviously thought it was something that he couldn't protect himself or the guys couldn't match up at all, then we wouldn't do it at all. But we didn't feel that way. We liked the reps that Brock got. He was excited to play. He was in there with possibly our 2 starting tackles, our starting center, our starting right guard, and Banks was down. So Banks ended up breaking his pinky the day before, and if Banks did, Zakel would have been up. So that could just easily be our opening day O-line. So that's part of football, and they're guys that are NFL players, and so I didn't see it as anything wrong with the offensive line, and I actually thought the offensive line matched up pretty well and did a pretty good job in that game.
So, as I mentioned, I actually did a poll on this question. Should the 49ers have played Brock Purdy versus the Saints? The first option is yes, get a feel for the game, which is effectively what Brock and Kyle were kind of discussing about why they decided to do that. And then the second option being no, why would you put him out there with barely any starters? You can see there's 14,000 people who voted on this particular poll, and it is dead down the middle, 50-50. I've done a lot of polls on this channel. It is very rare to see a poll split directly down the middle, meaning 7,000 people said yes, 7,000 people said no. That's pretty crazy. Like, typically these polls are weighted one way or the other, but again, this is the fans' thoughts on it. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. But I was kind of the mindset of like, I didn't love it. I definitely didn't love seeing Brock out there without any wide receivers, and more so of the simple fact is just like there's so many people waiting for Brock to fail, and like this argument about, oh, if he doesn't have the Avengers, he's no good. And so like it was confirmation, like it was almost used as confirmation bias for a lot of the people, who just talk and yap and, troll and all those kinds of things. Like that part of it was annoying. And then it was like looking at like, well, what are the benefits of this? We broke down one particular play where Brock Purdy, if it wasn't for Dominic Pooney and his phenomenal instincts, Brock probably would have got rocked right in the chin by a defensive tackle on a stunt that got blown up. Again, great play by Dominic Pooney. But if that play didn't happen, Brock would have took a huge hit to the face. And it's like, okay, risk reward here, right? Like this is already a camp that has kind of been, identified as an injury prone one. And it was like, just this, and especially with, the plan being that the starters are going to be playing for about at a quarter and a half to 2 quarters worth of football. It was just like, why wouldn't you just maybe put them on the shelf for next week when everyone goes? So I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of in that boat. I didn't see the benefits of it. I saw a lot more risk than I did see reward. Again, the major one being injury. I'm less concerned about the trolls and what have you. I just pointing it out as it comes along with the territory. Mine was injury related, and again, he was able to avoid it, but he got. They were getting close to him. They were getting close to him. So just anxiety, I think that's just normal PTSD amongst 49er fans. Nothing new there. But in regards to what the plan is for the final preseason game of the year, obviously sounds like the 49ers are going to treat this as the dress rehearsal. A lot of starters are going to get a lot of run, which will be good. So it'll be good to see everyone out there doing their thing. But yeah, the Brock thing, it is what it is. I'm just happy he got out of there without any injuries. So it's water under the bridge now. But it will be nice to see what these guys look like with the starters. I don't imagine Christian McCaffrey will be out there. But you're going to have Debo Samuel. You're going to have Jawan Jennings back out there. Hopefully some George Kittle. So you'll be able to get some pieces back. Obviously no Ayuk, no Trent Williams. Those guys, no Aaron Banks will be out there. So we probably get Kyle Juszczyk back and some guys like this. So it'll be interesting to see how everything comes together. But I am very happy that we are nearly out of the preseason and we will be on to the regular season here really soon, because it just feels like this off season has just been a massive jumble. Just the contract drama, just nonstop all the way throughout the off season. Typically when training camp starts is when you really refresh, you move on from the off season storylines, you focus on the future things that are coming. But because the off season storylines are still entrenched, like we're still in a spot where we're still dealing with the off season stuff and the season's about to start. So it's like, from an outside perspective, it's just like, my gosh, like, can we just wrap it up? Can we just get it over with so that we can focus on the upcoming year? I'm sure there's a ton of that. I'm sure players are tired of answering about this. I'm sure Kyle's tired of answering about this. I'm sure literally everyone is tired of this being the number one story. And we're ready for the number one story to be the play on the field. But unfortunately, until these other things get taken care of, everything that happens throughout this offseason will continue to be overshadowed by the drama. So it's an unfortunate situation, but it is what it is. And so we have to operate accordingly. And I'm trying personally to do my best to balance, actual football stuff versus the drama. I know a lot of fans tired of it. I get it. But the hope is that this will all be figured out soon, and all the focus will just be what's happening on the field. But let me know what you guys think about the plan that Kyle's laid out. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.